We're live
We're
now.
live.
Um,
So, hey guys, thank you guys for tuning into this week's invited stream. And today we have Austin Evans. Do you want to
What's up,
introduce
dudes?
yourself if you want to?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So, like I was wonderfully introduced, my name is Austin Evans, and I am a technology YouTuber. So I do videos on pretty much all kinds of technology, kind of more of a focus on gaming lately. But yeah, I love tech and like to make videos about it.
Yeah,
awesome.
it's awesome to have you on, man.
No, thank you for having me. We met at what was CES?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man,
It
that
was
was
like a
awesome.
quick combo, but yeah.
Yeah, that live stream, that live meetup was awesome. Actually, I was surprised at how many people were able to show up on the CES show floor with like 2 hours notice.
Yeah. And well, speaking of conventions, you went to E3, right? And
Yeah.
how
Yeah,
was
yeah.
E3?
It was interesting this year. I think it's a little different than some past years just because for me, I didn't get quite as much as I had wanted out of it because there was a lot of great announcements, there's a lot of cool stuff, but there wasn't a lot that actually was playable on the show floor, right? Like it was like, oh, this is going to be great next year when it comes out, or oh, this crazy thing you can't touch yet. Like, yeah, so it was a little bit of a disappointment. I was hoping to do a couple videos, but I mean, the actual announcements there, the games that they showed off, all that kind of stuff, that was really solid. There's a lot of cool stuff that I'm looking forward to. Fallout 4 definitely being the number one among them. But yeah, no, I was just a little disappointed that there was not more for me to actually be able to play while I was there.
Yeah.
What interests you the most out there? Like, what did you see that just like stood out?
Yeah, yeah. I think the new Oculus or the actual shipping version is gonna be really cool. I didn't get the chance to test it out, but I've tried pretty much all the previous versions of Oculus, and I was, it is a very clear progression. It gets better and better and better. So I think this. I keep saying final version. It's not the final version. It's like the sixth or seventh version of Oculus. It's the
Yeah.
only one that's actually going to be shipping to like
Mhm.
as like a legit product. But that's cool. Fallout 4. Did I mention Fallout 4? I also like Fallout 4, and Fallout 4 is really good. Um,
Yeah.
and then there's some other stuff like the new was it Horizon Zero Dawn or something like that?
Yeah.
I forget the exact name.
Mhm.
That looks really cool. I wasn't expecting that at all. We got a little bit more on Mirror's Edge. I mean, there's a lot there. Forza 6, I got to play that in the show floor. That was a lot of fun. There's a lot of good games this year, and a lot of good games that are going to be coming out next year, but just not enough to play.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so what was like the most anticipated game that you saw over there?
Yeah.
Oh, Fallout 4, for
Fallout
sure. I've been waiting for Fallout 4 since about, like, I don't know, 2 months after Fallout 3 came out. Like, I got so invested in that game. I loved it so much. I played it so much. But I think the thing is, it hasn't aged as well as a lot of other kind of like those early 360 PS3 games have. It's definitely a little bit of a the movement's a little janky. The graphics have kind of aged poorly. The color palette's just kind of bland. But it was such an incredible game, and I never really got into New Vegas that much. But now that there's Fallout 4, we're returning to the vault and the kind of the whole the vault tech and just the kind of the sort of new age 50s style sort of style, I guess. I don't know. I'm super hyped for Fallout 4. Like I
Alright.
cannot wait to play that game.
Is
So,
is E3 free to go, or is like do you need certain requirements to go to E3?
Yeah, so you do have to have some requirements. I do know that they let some like just normal people who could just like show up, but I believe it was like Nintendo and Sony, Microsoft, EA. I think they were actually giving out some tickets to like some fans or something. I don't think
Yeah.
it was like you just walk up and buy a ticket. So the way I got in was I just got a press badge, so I just registered using my channel. It's actually kind of funny. So I do a fair few trade shows, and a lot of the times they specifically say no YouTube channels allowed.
Yeah.
But you have to have a website with like 1,000 people a month, which is like I can get 1,000 views on a video in no time at all. I've got way more than that on the channel, but suddenly that's not cool. So I've fought with a lot of different trade shows over the years about arguing about that. But I've got to give props. Actually, E3 this year they actually changed it. There's now a specific when you go to sign up. There's a specific YouTube channel option where you can show them your channel. They take a look at it. They approve me, no problem, and it was awesome. So yeah, I've got to give big props. But it's not just like a public kind of deal. Like you do have to have like a channel or something. But as long as you have a channel, I don't know the exact like number of impressions that you need, but I don't imagine it's gonna be that crazy. And I had no problem getting in, so I was definitely pleased to see that they made that change this year.
great. So I've never tried the Oculus Rift, and you've probably tried the Google Cardboard too. Like, how does it compare to Google Cardboard? Is it like way better, or is it just, eh?
It's different. I mean, yeah, it is better, no doubt. Like it's more comfortable for a start. Like Google Cardboard kind of gets a little lame when you're like having to hold it up to your face the entire time, and like your arms get tired, and not all the demos. I mean, Google Cardboard is really it's a couple pieces of cardboard, a couple lenses, and an app running on your phone, right? Like it's really good considering that, but Oculus is kind of it's on a little bit of a different level. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think Oculus it's much more comfortable. It's fairly lightweight, which actually kind of surprised me. I feel like even Google Cardboard with your phone, it probably weighs quite a bit more than Oculus because it really is a couple screens, some very lightweight plastic that goes on your head, a couple straps, and a couple pieces of glass. Like it's very lightweight and it's easy to wear for long periods of time. And the screens are awesome. Like I said, I haven't tried the consumer version of Oculus yet, but pretty much all the earlier versions. Even I think the last one was like 1440p, which was it's not. The thing is with VR is you have to have crazy high resolutions, right? Like something like 8K would probably you could still make out pixels. Like you need to be very high resolution just because. I mean, think about this, right? The lenses almost act like a magnifying glass looking at a screen, right? So so take for example my phone here. So you're looking at a portion of the screen roughly this big, right? And that takes up your entire vision. So this bit of screen needs to be high resolution enough to completely show the entire world. So we're talking about crazy high resolutions here. But yeah, I think Oculus is definitely it's a big step up over things like Google Cardboard. I think Cardboard is a great way to get into VR and kind of understand what it can do. But I mean, at the end of the day, it is just a couple pieces of cardboard and some lenses. It's not anything too crazy like Oculus is.
Yeah.
So yeah, you go ahead.
All right. So what was I about to ask? Is that okay? So you showed the iPhone 6. Is that what you're currently rocking the daily driver?
Yeah. So this is the iPhone 6 Plus. It's funny. I was back in the days of like the 4S. I rocked that for a while, and then when the Galaxy S3 came out, I just totally jumped ship on iOS. I was so tired of the old like iOS 5, iOS 6, like the kind of the old style with like the icons and just notifications. There were a lot of issues, and I feel like that kind of generation, especially like the 4S and the 5, were just like the software is really starting to get at me. So when the Galaxy S3 came out, I jumped ship immediately. I was like, whoa. Look how giant the screen is. It has LTE. Whoa! It was awesome. So I was like using the Galaxy S3. I was using the Note 2 after that, the HTC One. I was on board for the Android train for a couple years there. And then when the iPhone 5S came out, I got it and I was just like playing around with it. And I didn't really have any real expectations. It's just like it's just another one of these iPhones that suck and are terrible. And then I started using it, and I kept using it, and I kept using it. And I pretty much didn't ever stop using it. And I think it was there was something about the changes that they had made in iOS 8, and especially the camera. So it helped that I was on a trip to Hawaii when I grabbed the iPhone 5S. So Hawaii is a beautiful place, so much just amazing scenery and stuff. And having that crazy camera on that 5S, that I think that almost more than anything kind of convinced me that whoa. This is something that I need. I can't be settling for at the time I was using the HTC One, and the camera is not particularly great on the original One M7, and that camera kind of blew me away. So yeah, I used the 5S pretty much for the full year, and then when the 6 Plus came out, it pretty much solved a lot of the other problems I had, which was the screen was kind of small and the battery life wasn't that great. The 6 Plus fixed both of those. So yeah, I've been actually really happy with the 6 Plus so far.
I think your audio is like it's. Do you hear that, Tyga? Do you hear his audio?
Can you talk?
Am I cutting out?
Yeah. There's a lot of noise.
Yeah.
There's a lot
of static noise.
Yeah, there's a lot of
static noise.
That's probably my laptop. It's pretty loud right now. Is that it?
No, like it's like really
static.
Like
every time you talk, there's like a static noise.
There's like a lot of static noise.
I think it's your microphone problem.
Okay, let me check. No, it's quiet on my end. Look here.
Yes.
I can change microphones, but here. How does this sound?
Yeah, it's much.
That's better.
That's better?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's way better. Kevin Tech Ninja was asking, do you prefer primes or variable zoom lenses?
Zooms
if
for
you
sure.
Have like one only.
Yeah, if I only had one lens I could use, it would be the Sigma 18 to 35. So I had been resistant to wanting to get this lens because it's an expensive lens and it's not a huge zoom range, and I wasn't really super sold on it. But now that I actually have put my hands on it and tried it, it's a crazy lens. See, I definitely think that one really good zoom can replace a bunch of primes. It's just easy. I don't have to ever like swap lenses. Well, I do,
Yeah.
but I don't have to swap lenses anywhere near as often. And yeah, so I definitely prefer a good zoom when I can.
All right.
Yeah. Um.
So you recently just got the FS7, and why did you choose the FS7 compared to like, those other 4K cameras out there? Like, why the FS7?
Yeah, man. So I've held out for against 4K for a long time. I think
Hmm.
last year was really where pretty much everyone started switching over to 4K, or not everyone, but a lot of people started kind of making the change, and I really didn't want to do that. I mean, 4K, while it's nice, is not that crazy of a jump. I mean, sure, if you do have a good 4K display, you can totally see the difference, but most people, the vast majority of people on YouTube don't watch videos in 4K. It's not really that important.
Yeah.
That said, though, as time went on and I actually was starting to do some of these higher end projects that I actually could have really benefited from shooting in 4K, I just started to kind of start really seriously considering it. I was really hoping that Canon would do something. I've been a Canon shooter for a little while. I use the C100 still to this day all the time. But the thing was, they didn't announce 4K on the C100 Mark II, which is like a $6,000 camera that shoots 1080, which is kind of not cool. And
Yeah.
then the C300 is like, oh, well, maybe you'll do something cool with the C300. And they did. It's pretty much the perfect 4K camera, except it's $16,000.
Oh my God.
So I was like, oh, okay, guess I'm not going to do that. So from there, I just decided, I knew that a lot of my friends were shooting on FS7. I had tried it before. I liked it a lot. And it kind of checks all the boxes for me as far as like having like some of the pro video camera features, stuff like ND filters, stuff like decent high ISO performance, XLR inputs, HDMI out to use for like something like a Shogun, like some kind of external recorder. And so yeah, I've been using the FS7. I'm not in love with it. I definitely would prefer the C300. I think there's some things about that camera that would make my life a little bit easier, but it's also crazy expensive, and I'll take a little bit of inconvenience over spending an enormous pile of money. So yeah, but no, the FS7's solid. I think it's actually a little bit too much camera for me, to be totally honest with you. It would be nice if it was a little bit pared down. Like the file sizes are giant. It can be a little bit difficult to work with. It's a little bit of a big camera, so I'm not in love with it like I loved my C100, but yeah, it's been a pretty solid camera. It's been a better camera for me than something like a GH4, for example.
Yeah.
Kyle asked, "Are you going to Are you going to be at Comic-Con?"
Not going to be at Comic-Con this year, but I actually will be going to VidCon, and I think it's about like a month from today, actually. I think it's something like that. See, I will be at VidCon, but no Comic-Con for me this year.
All right. Like for your like camera, what do you edit with, like to manage that 4K?
Yeah, so that's the thing. That's a huge issue for me. So I edit on Adobe Premiere CC, which handles 4K reasonably well. But the thing is, so I shoot sometimes I edit sometimes on a laptop. So I have a MacBook and then I have a Mac Pro. And before I could edit 1080p on any computer I wanted, no problem. However, this 4K, I just can't edit on a MacBook. Like, it literally just is slow and jerky and freezes. Like, it's just not. If I really had to do it, I could, but it's just such a pain that I would rather just shoot it 1080p when I'm like traveling or need to do something on the laptop. The Mac Pro can handle it reasonably well. It still slows it down, but I think the biggest thing hasn't been having a computer that's powerful enough or anything like that. It's just having enough storage space. So I shot. So I'm working on a mobile VR video, so stuff like Google Cardboard, Gear VR, that kind of thing. I'm doing a comparison between them. And so what I did was I brought a couple friends over, let them try. They had never tried VR before. So I just literally just rolled the camera, let people try it, and kind of get their reactions. I got like 300 gigabytes of footage just of those reactions. I don't have space to store that. Like I can put it on like an external drive, but it's not fast enough to edit because you really need a fairly fast drive that can dump that 4K footage. So like right now that video is in two different pieces because it won't fit. I don't have any hard drive or any SSD on any of my computers that are fast enough to edit on and have enough space. So the workflow is killing me right now. Like
Dang.
I feel like I'm gonna need to get some kind of like external drive that's fast enough, like something like Thunderbolt based or whatever, so I could actually put all my footage on one spot, actually be able to edit it. But yeah, just the file sizes and the footage and just how the color space and everything is it's kind of hurting my workflow. Like I was really fine-tune with the C100, and then this FS7 is just like throwing a wrench in my whole idea. So
So do you like regret it by any chance?
I
Do you
don't
think you should have got
regret
like
it.
another 4K camera?
Yeah, so that's the thing. There's really no other 4K camera that would be a better choice. Like, I absolutely have problems with the FS7, but there's really nothing else that is. What I would really like is like a 4K C100. I like all the features of a camera like that, but I don't like the enormous file sizes and the expensive memory and all this kind of stuff. Like, if they came out with something like that that shot more compressed, more easy to work with 4K footage, it would be the perfect camera for me. But until then, FS7.
Alright. So, like, one thing that I've been questioning for a long time is how do you, like, name your computers? Like, Boson, Electron, but
Yeah,
what's,
man. So
how do you,
there's a rhyme behind my my madness. That's the right phrase, which I don't think it is. So basically, for a long time, I did PC builds, and I never named them. They're just like, this is the February 2013 $500 build, or whatever it was. But I decided I wanted to kind of to change the way I did the builds. I wanted to give them more of a recognizable name to make it easier to talk about. So basically what I did was I just started looking around for like interesting names. I got on Wikipedia. I looked up elementary particles, and it's like, oh, boson, electron, photon, meson, yeah. And that's pretty much it. Like, seriously, right now at this point, I have a list of different like names that I might use for future builds, and then when I update past builds, I'll just call it, like, for example, the boson 2.0 or the photon 2.0 or whatever the case may be. So yeah, it's not crazy. It's not rocket science. It's just a lot of Wikipedia.
so what's your next PC build that you're working on?
So I actually shot it yesterday. I am doing my best to try to get it edited by the end of the month. Basically, actually, it's a little bit of a different one. It's not really a build like I recommend other people do. But my dad and I we built a computer together, and he had never built a computer before, so I didn't touch anything. I said, okay, look, I can tell you how to do this, but you've got to build the entire computer on your own. Yeah, so that's the build for this month. It should be hopefully up here in the next couple days or so, and then next month I would like to do a $1,500 build. That's kind of like what I've been trying to do, but I've been having some issues. There have been a lot of high-end graphics cards that I would like to use, but actually getting my hands on them has been a little bit tricky, and just trying to work out the exact build. So I would like to do a $1,500 build soon, but no promises.
All right.
So what interests you about PCs and stuff?
Dude, it's fun, right? Like, it's still fun to, like, you get a bunch of parts, a bunch of boxes, and it shows up, at your door by UPS, and in a couple hours you take a bunch of random parts and you have a working computer. That's awesome. I love to build stuff like that. I don't like to build other things for the most part, but when it comes to building a computer that you can game on and edit on, do all these kind of things, I love that. That's really kind of like a passion of mine. So yeah, dude, it's still fun. Like, I've done a lot of PC builds, and yet it's always fun when you kind of get a little nervous, you hit the power button, and you hope it actually works. That never gets old.
Yeah. There's a new AMD graphics card, like the series, like the 300 series. Isn't it? Yeah, really, really good.
Yeah, so there's the 300 series, which is actually basically just the 200 series that's been slightly kind of warmed over, but they do have a new graphics card called the Fury X. There's actually going to be a couple Fury cards, but yeah, so that's one of the cards that I've been trying to get my hands on and actually kind of test out to see if I actually do want to use it in a PC build. The Fury X looks good. I'm not completely convinced that it beats out the 980 Ti. Some of the benchmarks put them very close, and with the Fury X, it's a water-cooled card, so you actually have to have some spot in your case to actually mount, the fan and the whole deal. So we'll see. I'm not completely convinced that I'm going to be using it in any future builds, but it does look very cool. I'm glad to see AMD kind of stepping up their game.
Yeah. So what would you say is the best budget graphics card?
That's funny you asked that. So just the other day, someone was commented on my video saying, hey, you need to do a best budget graphics cards for 2015, because I did that video last year. So just the other day, I actually started putting together a few graphics cards I'd like to test and do a video on. So I actually don't have the answer to that. But if I get the time, I'd actually like to do a video and kind of do a proper, test and comparison and see what actually is the best graphics card for, I'd probably say like less than $150, maybe somewhere in that neighborhood. So yeah, hopefully that's a video I'll be able to do soon.
Yeah.
Great. How about best budget CPU? Are you gonna do a video on that soon, or anything like that?
Yeah, dude, I would, but really, I don't think as much has changed since last year. I mean, we've still
Yeah.
got the Pentium, but yeah, no, maybe I know that there's going to be a new Athlon. I think the 870K. I definitely like to get my hands on that and try it. So I might update that video as well. It just kind of depends on if there are actually any new gaming CPUs to test.
hmm Yeah. So let me. So okay, what else about to? Is it like if okay? So I have a Pentium on my build. Is it should? How much do you think you could? I've tried overclocking it. Like what is the best way to overclock? Would it be through Intel? There's this app I downloaded. It's called like Intel some.
It's
It's like
like
this Intel thing which allows you to overclock. I don't remember it.
utility.
Tiger, do you remember it?
It's the let me pull it up. Intel Extreme Tuning utility.
Yeah. Is it best to overclock with that or through BIOS?
I pretty much always do my overclocking through the BIOS. Some of those utilities can work, and some of them work pretty well actually, especially the ones that are kind of automatic, and they'll set it to a certain clock and stress test it, and then set it to a clock and keep stress testing it until it finally crashes, and then it figures out what overclock actually works. Some of those work pretty well, like especially the ASUS one. However, I still like to do a BIOS overclock. Something like the Pentium, dude, is actually really easy to overclock in the BIOS. I mean, it's not like super complicated. Like you throw some voltage at it, you change your clock speed, you do some stress testing, and it's not a hugely involved process. Do you have like what kind of cooling do you have on it right now?
I'm using the stock cooler. I'm probably gonna get water cooling, or I'm just gonna upgrade the CPU because I have the GTX 960. Would you call that bottlenecking? Is it? Because like I did a video on that, and some people were like, "Why'd you get the Pentium with the GTX 960?" So
yeah, I think at stock clocks, the Pentium is probably bottlenecking a little bit. I think once you overclock it, it'll help you though. I mean, the 960 is a pretty solid card. I don't think it's like completely crazy to have those two, but once you overclock the Pentium, I think they're going to be a lot more evenly matched. I don't know if I would go with water cooling on it though, to be honest with you. I think that water cooling on a $70 CPU might be a little overkill. I think I would probably upgrade. I would just upgrade to like a Core i5 before I jump up to water cooling. But to be totally honest, the stock cooler actually you can do some decent overclocking on that with the Pentium. I want to say like I think I had got like a pretty steady like 4.2 gigahertz on the stock cooler. Yeah, and I mean if you want to be a little bit more conservative, you could probably get 4 gigahertz out of the stock cooler no problem.
I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah, man, give it a try.
What are those like props behind your like what?
Yeah, so there's the Game Boy box right here. That's the Game Boy Color box. So I actually did an unboxing of that last year. It was like a brand new Game Boy Color that I had bought and unboxed. It had been sitting in the box for like 15 years. So there's that. There's some old cameras up here. There's Doom 64 and Cruising USA for the Nintendo 64, and there's a Nintendo 64 controller. So there's just some stuff that it's easy, like, the videos kind of look a little bit boring with just some blank background. So I try to put some, like, cool stuff up here. This stuff has actually all been sitting here for a while, so it's probably about time I change some things up. But for now, this is kind of the background of the videos. And apparently the live streams now.
There's one question: iOS 9 or Android M, and what features are you most impressed by?
Yeah, but see, the Android versus iOS debate, I really kind of hesitate to get involved in that because they both have so many pros. They're both really, really solid operating systems, and they both do have cons, right? Like there are definitely things that I do prefer about both operating systems, and the fanboys make it very difficult to have an actual real debate about it. You try to start mentioning some cons about anything, even if it's like a legitimate concern, and people are like, "Oh, you're such a fanboy," and it's just so it gets a little bit much. So I try to usually steer away from that kind of stuff. That said, though, I think that iOS 9, I haven't tried it yet. Some of the improvements there, I'm always on board when someone decides to update the behind-the-scenes stuff and make it run smoother and faster and all that kind of stuff. I always will take that over adding some flashy feature that may or may not actually work. So that definitely is kind of something I'm looking forward to with iOS 9. Android M definitely seems to be a little bit of a smaller update. I think L was a huge, huge update, and this is kind of like the small thing to add a couple extra features and whatnot. But Yeah, I've briefly tried M, and to be totally honest, I didn't actually notice a massive difference between M and Lollipop. So we'll have to see once it actually finally comes out if they add anything else. But it's mostly kind of like small, subtle improvements. And I haven't
Hmm.
tried iOS 9 at all, but just from what I'm seeing, a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff hopefully will kind of speed things up because I will say iOS 8 is not the smoothest version of iOS I've ever tried. It definitely kind of has some issues, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So somebody was wondering, what are your PC specs?
My PC specs.
Yeah.
So I use a lot of different computers, and the problem with me is that I'll use a computer and then I'll need a part from it for like a build, so I tear it apart and then I don't have a computer, and then I have to like, oh great, I need to go play a game, I need to go find like a CPU and throw it in this build. So it's always changing, dude. Like I gotta say I'm. Part of the reason I actually game a fair bit on console, especially like the Xbox, is because I can't tear that apart and like
Yeah.
steal the parts out of that. So at least there's one thing in my house that I'm never gonna like tear apart, or probably won't. We never know. But yeah, no. Usually the PC I use is a version of the Electron. So that's like one thing I usually don't touch too often. So I think right now it's the 5960X and a pair of I think I have 780s in there right now. So I think I have two 780s and SLI. So that's the build that I've been gaming on mostly. Like I've been playing some Witcher, but again, every once in a while, I like a graphics card. I just need to steal from it, or I need to steal like the SSD or some memory or something, and then it's like, oh great, I guess I can't do any PC gaming now. That's fun.
So when you are gaming on consoles, would you prefer Xbox or PlayStation?
Yeah, so dude, it's funny you asked that. I literally right before I got on the stream, I was shooting the first episode of my Xbox versus PS4 comparison. So
Oh.
I've been wanting to do this for a long time. Like since before they actually came out, I started planning and thinking of how I wanted to do it. And one of the videos or one of the series that really is still one of my favorites of all time is the Techno Buffalo Console War. I really, really enjoyed that. I think that
Yeah.
was probably some of the best work that they've ever done. And so I remember back in the day, like 2009, 2010, I tried to do my own. It was like the Nintendo Console War. I was basically just straight up copying them, and I was like, oh, Console Wars, this is a great idea. I think it was like I did like the SNES versus like the Nintendo 64 and GameCube and Wii. It was dumb. I only made like an episode or two of it, but with the PS4 and Xbox One, I actually wanted to take it a little bit more seriously and actually do more of a hardcore, like legit comparison. And I've wanted to do it, and I keep pushing it back. It's just like this giant project. It's like, it's going to be like 10 episodes. It's going to take me like 6 months, and it's going to be this giant ordeal. And I just kept pushing it back and pushing it back. And finally, now that these consoles are nearly 2 years old, I think I am going to do it. Well, I'm definitely doing it. I'm starting it right now. But it's going to be a little bit more of a condensed sort of comparison. I think it's going to be maybe somewhere like 3 to 4 episodes opposed to 10. But yeah, I got to say, I just personally, just kind of setting aside like all the stuff I'll get into in the videos, I personally lean a little bit more toward the Xbox side, mostly because I use the Xbox less of a game console and more of like a home theater box. So I have it hooked up, and I use Connect to like pause and change apps and stuff. Netflix, a lot of YouTube, Twitch. I actually use the Blu-ray player sometimes. I watch movies, and I was watching a DVD on it last night. So I use the Xbox a lot for the media side, and I have some games on there that are exclusive, like Forza. I love the Forza games, so I've been playing like lots of like Forza 5 and Forza Horizon 2 and stuff. Even some Titanfall on the Xbox every once in a while. So yeah, no, I lean a little bit more toward the Xbox, but that's not definitely the whole story, and I will definitely get into that a little bit later.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, like, these ideas you keep pushing back, is that, like, your worst part? Is, like, the worst part of being a YouTuber, or is it?
Yeah. Man, yeah, it's difficult sometimes because I have a giant list of videos that I want to work on, and I mean I can actually check it right now. How many ideas? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got like 25 ideas here of videos or series that I would like to do. And it was funny, like in the older days where I cranked out like a video every day. Like I looked back, like during 2011 and like I think it was 2010, 2011, I was doing like 20 to 25 videos a month. Like it was just completely insane.
Yeah.
And I don't do anywhere near that many this month. Like these days, if I can get like 7 or 8 videos done a month, I'm like, good job, Austin. I really did. I nailed it. So it's definitely, as the videos have gotten more complicated and there's more to do, it's just slowed me down a lot. So because of that, I still have lots of ideas, and there's always stuff I want to do, which is nice because it's like when I actually have, say, like a week of, I don't have to go anywhere, I don't have to do anything, I can literally just work all week. there's plenty of things to do because I've got all these ideas that I've been wanting to do for months. So yeah, but it definitely this Xbox versus PS4 comparison has probably been like the worst offender of just like an idea that's been it's not just like an idea. Like I've worked on this. I've started this series like a year and a half ago. Like I literally some of the shots for this video was shot almost 2 years ago.
Oh
Some of
my
the things.
God.
Yeah, like I mean, I started it and I was like, oh well, actually I have to push this back to like next month, and I kind of like fell back, and then I wrote like a whole script for like half the thing, and then now the consoles have changed and there've been like updates and stuff, so I've had to scrap most of that. So it's like, it was definitely poor planning on my part. I should have just committed and finished it. But on the other hand, the consoles are very different today than they were 2 years ago. So I am glad that I have put some distance between the actual launch and now they've done some updates. So. Yeah, I mean, it can be tricky sometimes, but there's definitely upsides to it as well.
Mhm.
Zaxper asks, are you looking forward for the RX 100 Mark IV?
Yes, dude, the RX 100 line, dude, I love those cameras so much. The RX 100 Mark III, which I've got mine around here. Actually, I was using that PC build I did with my dad yesterday. A lot of that was actually shot in the RX 100 because it's just like such a perfect little camera to kind of get for like close-ups and stuff. Yeah, I'm super hyped for the Mark IV. I've got mine pre-ordered. I'm like waiting just for the day where it's just like it's shipping. Yes, I finally get it. But yeah, no, the RX 100 line is amazing. I think that it's crazy that the only real negative for the RX 100 is just there's no real audio. Like there's no mic input, there's no hot shoe, there's no way of kind of getting better audio on it, which is not the end of the world. I mean, there's external stuff that you can use, and you probably should, if you really want to be legit about it. So, yeah, no, I love the RX 100. I think that it's an awesome camera, and I'm super stoked to try the Mark IV.
Yeah. Why did you start YouTube?
Ooh. So it was actually it's probably getting up on 7 years ago that the iPod I wanted an iPod Touch for Christmas, and so what I did was I was watching tons of videos on YouTube about like the apps because that was right after the App Store was launched, and there were a lot of free apps, and I was getting super excited about it. Like literally, I was planning months ahead of Christmas yeah, dude, I was really excited about it. So like I would go and like download apps and like have them on my computer on iTunes ready. So as soon as I get my iPod, I can like plug it in, load my apps up and stuff. I was super into it, and I started watching some tech videos on YouTube. I started watching. There's a few people like the iPod Touch Kid, App Store Reviewer, that were doing videos on these apps, and I got super excited about it. I started watching, and I became friends with one of these guys, and when I got my iPod, I started doing written app reviews for his site, and as things kind of progressed, he's like, dude, you should totally do this as video. So I made a video. Basically, it was just a video version of my written review, and it was terrible and just completely awful. But but he gave me a shout out, dude. Like he gave me like I don't know, I forget how many it was. He gave me like just some people watched. I think it was like 100 people or whatever watched the first video, and I was like, whoa, this is so cool. And so I made another one, and I just have kept doing it since. It was really kind of, it was a lot of things kind of had to go perfectly for that all to kind of go down and kind of get me excited about it. Because in hindsight, that video was terrible, right? My first videos were just completely awful. And if I would have realized how terrible the videos that I was making were, I probably would have stopped. I probably would have never made another video because, oh, this is so bad. What am I doing? But I'm totally glad I didn't, and I'm glad I continued doing it. And actually, over the last few years, I've actually improved to the point where I'm kind of happy with the videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at what point did you get to like, okay, what point on YouTube did you like? How many subscribers did you get to the point where you're like, now I got to start taking this seriously? I need to like. At what point did that start
Dude,
happening?
it was 1,000 subscribers, man. When I had 1,000 subscribers, it was like, whoa, 1,000 people watch my videos. That was definitely the point where I was just like, man, that was crazy. I mean, there's always a milestone, right? Like there's always the next thing that you want to hit. So like when I had 1,000 subscribers, like okay, well now I want to make sure that I get 1,000 views on every video. I mean, if I get 1,000 views on every single video I post, I've made it. I'm like rolling in cash now. Like just like roll up the Lamborghini, man. Which unfortunately was not the case. Apparently 1,000 views per video is actually not enough to afford a Lamborghini, which I kind of learned the hard way. But as I kind of continued on, then it was like, oh, I wanted to get a YouTube partner, and I got that. It's like, I want to get 2,000 subscribers, and it was like 5 and 10. I mean, there's always a goal. Like, you can't just be happy and looking and go, you know what? I'm good. I don't need any more. Like, I'm doing totally fine. Like, there's always got to be that next goal that you need to strive to hit, and kind of to keep you motivated. But yeah, I think really what kind of got me like super like taking it seriously at the very beginning was just hitting 1,000 subscribers. I was like, wow, this is actually something serious. Like, I can actually do something here.
Victor, didn't
Which
you?
took me a year, by the way. It took me like almost a full year to get 1,000 subscribers. It was not quick at all.
Dang. I just recently hit 1,000 subscribers
Right on, dude.
on my
Congratulations.
channel. Thanks.
Yeah, same here.
So, how long did that take you?
It's 1,000 subscribers.
Like 6,
That's
7 months, and
A year or two for me. It took me a year or two. Right now I'm at
Yeah, man.
10,000. So
10,000, right on, dude. Yeah, seriously, that first, I can totally tell you guys, the first few thousand subscribers is absolutely the hardest, right? Because not only are you trying to build your channel, but you're trying to learn what you're doing, right? Like, there's so much to YouTube that, making videos and making them interesting, and like, there's so much to it that by the time you've actually hit like 1,000 and 5 and 10,000, like, once you hit some of those early numbers, not only are you growing the channel, but you're growing yourself. You're learning so much about what you're supposed to do. It can get crazy sometimes.
Yeah.
So once you get those first subscribers, you get a little bit of momentum. It just builds and builds and builds and just snowballs. And as long as you kind of keep it up and you keep improving the videos and all that kind of stuff. But the first few thousand, or like first 1,000 subscribers, I guess I'd say, of just not only just trying to get the audience, but just trying to learn what you're doing is so difficult. So once you kind of get over that, it gets easier as you go along.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that you couldn't wait until like you hit 1,000 views per video. So when did that start happening to you? Like hitting 1,000 views per video, if you could remember.
Yeah, I don't know exactly when that happened. I mean, it was, it's more of a gradual thing. Like, I would do a video and it'd get like 1,500 views, and I'd do another video and get like 4, and it was kind of difficult. But I think it probably took me at least 2 years. It was a while. So what I did in the early days was I kind of had a lot of different focuses of the channel. I would change kind of my idea of what I wanted to do fairly often, based on what I was actually being popular. Because back then I was just kind of feeling everything out. I wanted to see what would work, what wouldn't. And just kind of roll with it. So, at the very beginning, I was doing like a lot of like iPod Touch app reviews. I was doing some more new stuff. So I did a lot of like, they were kind of scummy videos. If you think about it these days, like I would basically take pictures and like, oh, look, this new phone was announced, and I would talk about it for a minute. And it was like, they really weren't great videos. Like, I was just like, oh, this new Motorola phone was announced, and I do a video on it, and I'll get like 15,000 views, and no one cares because it was just me talking about a bunch of pictures, right? So like some of the early videos were definitely not very high quality, but they got me views, and that was kind of, I'm not super proud of those videos, but they were definitely important in kind of growing the channel. And then as I kind of continued on, I progressed to the point where some of these products I could actually get my hands on, whether they were view units or whatever, and do videos on them. I did a lot of tutorials back in the day, like jailbreaks, that kind of thing. And then as I kind of progressed, then it was like gaming PC builds and gaming stuff, and just kind of continues to evolve to even up to today.
So okay, you can ask Tiger.
There's a comment is like Asa was under the name of Duncan for a few years, and why? Why?
Yeah, man. Why is really simple. I'm an idiot. That's not hard to answer. No, okay, so let me back up just a little bit before I started my channel. So when I was like, I don't know, maybe 10 years old, something like that, my friend and I, we were getting on the internet for the first time. We're like, okay, well, we need a username. But we didn't want to use our real names because then people will find us and they'll be weird and creepy. So what we did was we came up with fake names, and mine was Duncan. So for a long time, that's probably like 7, 8 years online, I was known as Duncan. Very, very few people knew actually my real name. I mean, a few people did, but like for the most part, I was Duncan. And I remember the whole 33303 thing came about because it was a Yahoo email address. So I tried to register Duncan at yahoo.com, which was amazingly already taken. So like those autocompletes where it kind of like says like, oh, do you want to do this? Well, it was Duncan 33303. I was like, all right, I was number 3. That'll work. It just kind of stuck from there. So, yeah, it was well planned out from the very beginning. But yeah, so basically, I actually started my YouTube channel a couple years before I started making videos, and you know, I just used the same username as I had been doing before, which most of those are gone actually these days. But most of those old sites and stuff, they just disappeared, which is kind of sad actually. But yeah, so when I started YouTube, it was Duncan33303. I didn't ever, yeah, I just made the channel just so I could like subscribe to people and that kind of stuff. And I started making videos, and so I just put it up on my channel. I remember, I think I was right about when I had 100 subscribers. It was maybe like a week or two in. And I was like, you know, this Duncan name, this is not a great username. I should probably do something about that. But the problem was back in those days, you couldn't change your YouTube name. What you basically could do is either start a new channel and create the new name and go from there, but you would have to restart and try to get some subscribers over, or you could just stick around with your old name and just be happy with it. And I was like, man, I've got 100 subscribers right now. There's no way I'll ever be able to get that many if I start again. So I didn't, and I stuck with Duncan for like 4 or 5 years before I finally just ripped off the Band-Aid, which at that point YouTube actually could allow you to sort of change your name. It's not still perfect. Like, you can still go to youtube.com/Duncan333, and that's my channel. But I've changed like the actual name of it that appears on YouTube. YouTube.com/AustinEvans takes you to the same place. So there's at least some way of changing your channel name.
So
but yeah, that was not my most brilliant idea.
So how were you able to change it to youtube.com/AustinEvans? Do you have to hit like a certain milestone to change it? And
No. So at the time, I knew someone from YouTube, and I just asked, hey, I'm trying to change it up, gotta get rid of this terrible name. Could you help me out? And yeah, they redirected the Austin Evans URL. So that's not like a channel. The /AustinEvans is not actually anything. Literally, it's just a redirect to my channel. So yeah, I just knew someone from YouTube, and they were nice enough to hook me up.
all right, nice. So when you first started YouTube, what camera were you using, and what was your first DSLR that you got through YouTube?
I didn't own a camera when I started YouTube. I didn't own a camera for about a year, or maybe like 6 months or so. So my first videos were all like screenshots and screencasts and that kind of stuff. I didn't even have a webcam back in the day. And then I remember my brother bought it was like a terrible little point and shoot. It was a Kodak Easy Shot, I believe. I don't even remember the name. It was like M107 or something. I don't even know. But it shot 720p HD video, which was like 240p upscaled. It looked completely awful.
Oh my god.
It was so bad. You can watch the Kodak Easy Share video is actually still on my channel. You can see like my very first test of it. Like I have like my iPod there, and it's just so garbage, so bad. But yeah. So I used that for a little while. I think after a year and a half, I actually was able to buy my own camera, which was the Sanyo Zacti CG10, which my buddy Marquez was using. I loved it, so I was like, all right, I'll give that a try. And I used that camera for a while. I don't know exactly how long, but it was at least a year. And then I upgraded to a DSLR, which was the Nikon D3100. And I used that for a while. And then I stayed with Nikon for a little while. I think I used Nikon cameras for like 3 years or so. And then, yeah, up until the D600. And then I switched over to Canon about a year and a half ago or so. But yeah, no, my first DSLR was the D3100.
Our first is the D3200.
D3200.
Oh, really?
That's what we're currently rocking.
Dude, I actually used the D3200. I upgraded after a little while because the D3100 was a good camera, but in video mode there was zero manual control whatsoever. So literally, what I do to set exposure was I would like look at the window, like try to get the exposure right. I would lock it, and then I would bring it back down and go, yeah, it's about right. No, it was like it had 5 or 6 tries of like pointing at different objects for the camera to try to figure out what the exposure should be, and then I would lock it down. So yeah, when I got the D3200, it was like, wait, I can change this? What? This is amazing! I can't believe that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was definitely really nice to be able to actually change the aperture and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, to be totally honest, any DSLR is totally good enough for YouTube, right? Like, there's not a DSLR that shoots video that's like not made like 10 years ago that is not good enough to shoot YouTube videos.
Yeah.
So, like, when you switched from Nikon to Canon, like, what was the big difference?
It wasn't actually that bad. I mean, lenses obviously were different. Stuff like I think, is it focus or zoom rings are backwards on, I think it's focus rings that are backwards on Nikon versus Canon, or vice versa, however, whatever your perspective is on that. But it was very, very easy transition. I mean, they're similar cameras, right? Like, obviously lenses are different, Menus are a little different, but I mean, it was like it took me 10 minutes to figure everything out. It was very simple.
Mhm. So, yeah, I'm about to go because I have to like travel somewhere. I'm going somewhere 3 hours away. So you'll be here with Tyga. So
Yeah,
anyway, it was great meeting
we'll just
you.
end it together. So,
All right, we can just end it. Oh,
okay,
all right.
one quick last question. Favorite
Question.
Go for it.
What's your favorite
Favorite what?
pizza? Favorite pizza.
What?
Oh, dude, that's so hard. I mean, if you would ask me this a couple years ago, I would have just said pepperoni. But like, I've gotten into more like the like crazy toppings, like sausage and just throwing like tons and tons of stuff on the pizza and like the thick crust and stuff. I think it's Chicago style. I think is what they call it. I've gotten super into that. So yeah, Chicago style.
All
Mm-hmm.
right. And can you say I'm a cool cat before we end this?
I'm a cool cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'm a cool cat.
Yes.
Perfect.
All right. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next live stream.